folks, this is the time of the show where we go out across the world and find someone who is interesting to me or that I've known in the past, and this week is no exception. This week we're going to go to Grand Haven, Michigan. And those of you who've listened to the show for a while know that I was, for 4 years, I had two-year terms with the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants, the IARFC. And as I was president, one of my favorite board members was a guy named Michael Markey. And he's in, again, Grand Haven, Michigan, and he's got a very special announcement to share with us on the show, I think. But Michael, welcome in.
Hey, nice to see you again.
Now, you've always been outspoken, which I love, in the financial world. Let's talk about, I want to talk a little bit about the financial world, and then let's make a little announcement with you and then weave it into a different world. So the financial world is pretty confusing,
Sure.
isn't it?
Oh, sure it is. Yeah.
You know,
Spend a few minutes on the internet and you get lost in like a typhoon of financial information.
one of the things I've seen in my almost 30 years in the financial arena is that there's the truth, there's lies, and then there's the middle ground. And I don't like middle ground because middle ground is where confusion happens. I mean, really, financial planning is almost, there is a science that can be absolute as far as when we're trying to plan income for folks or make sure they get the right life insurance and make sure they have the right retirement plan. I mean, in your career in the financial world, what have you seen as misconception-wise, and what do you think has been your best achievement ever as far as talking somebody away from the confusion and getting them into the right plan?
I think the biggest misconception is when somebody unilaterally says an entire product class is bad.
Yep.
And so you can see like a Ken Fisher says this, Dave Ramsey's done it. And when you say that, you're saying, if that product's been around for 100 years, for the last 100 years, every commissioner in every department of insurance in every state, they've either been too stupid to see what you see or they're all too corrupt. Yeah. You could even make the argument most, but all in every state and for every year, it's irrational. So I wrote a column for quite a while for advisors about Dave Ramsey. I wish I would have maybe tried to. It probably wouldn't have gone anywhere if I tried to make it nicer. But I do feel bad of going maybe as harsh as I was. But yeah.
Well, but again, it's important that people get the truth, and the truth is what really makes forms happiness in people's minds when you know. And this happens, if you ever bought a car before, if you do some research ahead of time and you really know what you're looking for, then after you buy the car, if friends of yours who know the car world say, hey, you got a good deal or that's a great car, whereas on the other side, they'll say, gosh, you paid what for that? It's the same thing in the financial world. There's good, bad, and ugly. There really is.
Yeah, you buy a car. It's never a good sign when your family goes, why? Why did you buy that? Well, I liked it, I thought.
Then buyer's remorse sets in even faster when everybody doesn't like that.
Right.
All right, so you've always been outspoken. That's what I love about you, and you've got a special announcement today.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, we announced that I'm running for governor in the great state of Michigan. Yeah. So we'll be traversing the state. We've actually got a team right now canvassing the state. One of the things you have to do is you got to get 15,000 validated signatures, which is a process in itself. So as of early the week, our team's been out for about 2 weeks and we're halfway there.
That's good.
So I think that says something about, the momentum and what people want to see.
Yeah, well, I think, what have you seen when you've been out there talking to folks in Michigan? What's the overall consensus about the direction we're going?
Inflation. Yep. People are it's killing them, especially retirees. Just inflation is just hitting them hard.
Well, you and your wife do a radio show, and we've done a show here in North Carolina and across the nation for the most part for about 17 years. And anytime in the past, when we talked about inflation and even Social Security, people didn't really want to hear that conversation because, we don't have inflation's here, but we don't feel it. People are feeling it now, aren't they?
I've been warning people about inflation for over a decade. Yep. Almost laughed out of the room for a while, but it's simple because it's a math term. It's called reversion to the mean. And it's like the moment you say math, everyone goes, oh, it's high school again. They just shut down. But reversion to the mean basically means that if your average is right here in the middle, if you have a period of time where it's way below the average, you're going to have a period of time where it's way above the average. That's how you get an average. And so we had almost no inflation for a decade, which meant at some point we're going to get hammered. And that's where we're at right now.
It's the swinging of the pendulum, but it's really swung fast and hard the other way, hasn't it?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Folks, we're talking to Michael Markey. He's visiting with us from Grand Haven, Michigan, and he's just announced to us, the announcement's been out a couple of weeks, but he's running for governor in Michigan. What inspired you to want to run for office? Because, I've known you. You've been a pretty comfortable guy in the financial world. Being a politician put a pretty big target on your back.
Yeah, I've had that target on my back for a while. It actually happened 2 years ago, oddly enough. I was getting a coffee just like you probably have, sitting at the Starbucks, and I'm waiting in this long line. And it was right during President Trump's last year when we were pushing through Supreme Court justice. And Republicans were, shocked that Democrats were mad we were doing it. Yet 4 years earlier, we were telling them, no way are you going to do this. And I just sat there and I thought, what if in my marriage, I did the same thing? Like, what if I did whatever I wanted to do just anytime I had the power, meaning I had the checkbook? And my wife and I had some of this friction because there's been times where I wanted to buy something for the business where, let's be honest, there was a little bit of personal use that could, in a legal way, but, I just wanted it. And she'd be like, no. And I'm like, who are you to say no? This is a business expenditure. But, I realized that in a marriage that I had to work together, and I had to admit fault sometimes when I didn't think I was wrong, but you had to care about the other person's feelings in order to accomplish more. And I mean, we've been so lucky and blessed. We've done far more than we ever thought we'd do because we've done it together. Good. And I thought, wait a minute, look at politics. When was especially here in Michigan, we don't work together at all. I kind of joke, like right now, you've got partisan voting, and it's like the moment one party has the power, why don't we just send the other party home?
Not what it's come to.
Like, we don't need you. We can save some money. You can mow the yard, and we'll go ahead and vote.
Well, every now and then they find out some legislatures have gone home and still get paid, too. We've heard about that every now and then. That's a different story. Right. So being a governor is basically being the president of a state. And but the big difference to me is the governors cannot overextend their budget. Sort of like if the U.S. Government overspends, they just print more money. You don't have a printing press in Michigan. So what's your plan for keeping the budget balanced and making everybody happy?
Well, the first thing that I want to do is I think that we need to, and I made this mistake myself too. I said, let's improve our education. And then I got mad at myself because I sat there and I go, I used to play college baseball. I go, we never said, let's improve our record. Let's improve our hitting. No, it was, we're going to be number one in the league in X, Y, or Z. So I think Michigan needs to focus on being number one in education. We've got a lot of race tensions here, which I think are also class tensions. But if we give everyone not just access, but to educational opportunities, but we create world-class, lead the nation, we're going to minimize and blast through a lot of these class tensions. Yep. We're going to lift that up. We're going to create revenue from that, but that's also going to create jobs. So it all comes down to, it's this multiplication. I agree. We can't just print money. Yeah. But quite frankly, who better than an advisor to understand that? Yeah. I had somebody say, I wouldn't have thought it this way, but, as an advisor helping retirees, what do we do? You've done it for years. We help people dream, first of all.
That's right.
You've met somebody at some point who goes, hey, coach, I don't think I can retire, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And so what do? We're like, well, no, let's define what retirement is. Let's make a plan to get there. And then we help them accomplish that dream. So, that's what we need to do in Michigan. We need to dream. Like, people come in with a plan, they go, we're going to make education better. No, we need to dream. A dream is, let's make it number one. And then we put a plan together to do it.
Well, Tom Brady's famous for saying, let's go, before he runs out on the field or during the game. Let's go. Yeah. Well, why a good slogan be, let's win? Because that's what you're aiming for. Let's win. I mean, winning all the time, that's the best strategy ever. I know Donald Trump had a book that had the title. I think winning is in the title of that book, too, because, like you said, if you're not winning, you're losing, right? So, I mean, winning is better. Right. Winning with the financial life, too, is important. Winning in the political life is important, too. I just think that, it is amazing to talk to people on the state level when they manage a state government compared to the federal government. Federal government seems to have no worries. Again, they just send the tax collector out again or print more money. Right. State government's a little tougher. Yeah. You start raising the taxes in the state, and the industry moves away. We saw that happen in a county in North Carolina I grew up in. The county raised taxes to the point where all the industry left. And now the county is the 100th. Sure. We have 100 counties here in North Carolina. It is the 100th poorest county in the state. That's where I went to high school and grade school and all that. Nothing to brag about, but it's not fun to watch that. Right. But we could see it almost developing in slow motion. You raise taxes on industry leaves. Nobody to tax anymore, and then everybody else leaves too, or the people that stay can't support the government they have. So it's this. I'm proud of you for what you're doing. We've got a couple more minutes now. What are two of your main campaign planks?
So campaign point, I obviously number one in education, but we want to bring people back together. I think that, a lot of my clients are split. They're not all Republican. They're not all Democrat. I think we're more alike than we are different. I had somebody a couple years ago, and he goes, well, Mike, the problem with you Republicans, I said, all right, what's that? And he goes, you guys don't believe in a living wage. I said, what does that mean? He goes, well, minimum wage should be a living wage. I said, I think you're defining the problem incorrectly. He goes, what do you mean? I go, do you want minimum wage to be a living wage, or do you just want more people to at least have access? If they're willing to work hard, that they should be able to make a living wage. They should be able to, retire and have vacation and have some things. He goes, well, yeah, that's what I want. I go, great. See, the moment we say it's a minimum wage, now you separate people. Instead, let's identify what the actual problem is, which is how do we get everyone who wants it, who's willing to work hard, to have a living wage? Then we work together to come up with ideas. Because, here's the thing. You talk about Tom Brady. I'm yet to remember any national champion sports team that did it with just offense or just defense.
It's teamwork.
They might have a great defense and a mediocre offense, but they always have both to make it work. And so we need both. We got to get Republicans to start talking to Democrats, and Democrats start talking with Republicans. If we really want to make Michigan great, if we really want to win in education and economy, we have to get all our best minds working in the same direction.
Yeah, then the momentum there would be a lot better than fighting constantly, playing the tug-of-war game. I mean, tug-of-war, nobody wins a tug-of-war. And I think it was the Squid Games I watched, everybody lost in tug-of-war on one side, too. So, I'm glad I never played tug-of-war like that. So, 1 minute wrap up here. What if you do get into governor, as a governor, what would be the first two? I know you want to fix education or get it going good and make sure that we can have that wage talk or have the work talk. But what are some of the things you think you can accomplish in the first year, realistically?
I think right away, very fast, people say, Mike, how could you actually bring people together? I had one person challenge me. He goes, can you make your kids not fight? I go, yeah, I just put them in different rooms. Done. But one of the ways to do it is, my dad always said, locks keep honest people honest. I do believe most people in politics, that you got your outliers, but most are trying to do good. But we need some locks to keep honest people honest. Yep. And so what we need to do is, when we have these negotiations, put it on TV. I hope it would be the most boring TV you'd watch, because it's just a bunch of people being polite and talking. Yep. But you want to, the issue is we need to be accountable and transparent with that, so that when people aren't working in Michigan's best interest, we can be like, hey, you don't have to take it from me. We don't have to sling mud. You saw it. We sat here, tried to have a conversation, and all we got was, irrational rhetoric. So that would be right away.
Well, here's one final thought. I should have asked this earlier, but we still have about 30 seconds here. Your ideas on Congress being able to insider trade like they've been doing for years and getting away with it.
Done. Go on.
Get rid of it, right? It's not fair, man. I mean, you look at some of the people that became multimillionaires because they're trading on inside information. They're sharing that information with their friends. Don't think they're not sharing it with their friends and family, too. Right. And so you're against that, too, right? It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy. Okay, yes. Folks, Michael Markey, running for governor of Michigan. Michael, good to see you. Hope we have you on again in the future.
Thanks.
Take care.